Welcome to the Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Moon Harvest, Amish Earther, Naughty Thumbnails, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMails24, Unimento, M Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Can a Bear, Fibre Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W. Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Tina Baker, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show. Hey, Neil.
Good morning, Neil.
I don't want to irritate you today.
Well, then don't.
Too late.
Well, let's get you all warmed up.
Right.
Now, I'm just in a bad mood because there's a stupid AI suite warning coming up on my computer for no reason. And because it's got no power button, I can't just turn the thing off and ignore it. Not that I'll be doing that anyway right now, but you know what I mean? So this,
Okay.
when I woke up, it just had 3 of the same warnings all on top of each other. And I'm like, why is it doing this? Finally got it to stop crashing and now it's giving me a software error. Really? Thanks, computer. It's just never ending. I'm just so sick of it. Anyway, that's why I'm not in a good mood.
Weren't you on a good streak? Not tampering with the computer and everything was fine. Then
What I did...
why?
No. What I did was got a new graphics card and then stopped fiddling. Just went, it's fine. It seems all right. And then just stopped testing it because it was so much better than it was that I stopped tinkering. Well, then it started falling over and I'm like, I should really test it. So I just got back into, for about a week or maybe a bit less, just testing it again, making sure it was actually stable. And I knew what to do, just didn't really want to do it. So I did it. I did the FAFO, spent the hours testing the memory, finding the point of instability, backing it off. I did that with all the components, with the GPU, with the CPU, with the memory. And yeah, got it all stable. But in that process, the power button broke. And then I had to yank out all the cables from the motherboard for all the front panel connections because I couldn't see them. So I couldn't see which one was the power one. And even with my tech guy on the phone going, well, if it's backwards and rotated 90 degree, then the row on the left underneath the one that hasn't got anything pinned in, the second one, I'm like, I can't do this. Can I just yank them all out? He's like, yeah. So that's what I did. That's probably why I'm now getting a Asus AI suite error. But there we go. It's just one of those things. I'll get it sorted eventually. I've contacted Monster Labo and I've contacted Inside Tech and said, look, I've got a broken power button. Get me another one.
How's my sound coming?
Not so good, but better.
It's not.
Mic check.
I mean, please sort it out. I don't want every single time you talk for us to assess your crappy mic. It's now the 4th time. I'm in no mood for it, Gene. It's not your fault. But it is. Sort it out.
Yeah, so it seems just like getting a whole new panel for where the power switches and stuff like that is located, replaced would be the answer, right?
Just one button. It's just 2 Allen bolts that you release, and it just releases that one section with one little circuit board and one button on it. You know, it's very, very crude, and you can really easily access it. I can just take out the whole switch with its board, and there's just 2 connections. I can't quite see if they need desoldering or if they've got a little connection. I don't know. I'll have to have a look again. But from what I can see, to get the switch out is dead easy. I just need another one. Not that I desperately need it. It's been 2 days now and I haven't actually had a problem. I haven't had to poke my chopstick inside the PC to turn it on because I just typically don't ever turn the PC off. I restart it before every show.
Yeah.
Morning, whoever that was.
Hear me now?
No, Gene. Just really quiet. Every time you ask the same question with the same problem, though, Gene, having done basically nothing to solve it.
Yes, I adjusted the gain on the Blue Yeti mic.
See if I can crank you up a bit louder.
It's better, Gene. It's better.
It'll have
Really,
to
I
do.
never had mic issues.
That's fine. That'll do. Maybe just get a
Anywho,
little bit
I have
closer.
a bone to pick with you. My brother listens to your podcast, and this show, and he says, why does he always say sat instead of sitting?
Can't hear what you're saying because you're quiet. God, this is going to fuck me off royally. Just get a bit closer.
I can hear Gene well on my side.
Thank you. Well, it's a good job you're running the show, eh?
You know what?
Just don't piss me off, okay? I'm not in the mood for it. It's now the 6th time we've told Gene he's too quiet. He's now appealing to me about how good his mic. I don't care. I just want to be able to hear it so I can have a conversation with you. If you want to talk to me, I need to be able to hear you. As I say, I'm in no mood for this.
All right, that should be better.
Yeah, that's fine. Until it isn't.
So I thought that's pretty interesting. You keep a computer on like the whole night, you're saying, right? And then you just restart it the next day. Is there a reason for doing that? Does it like wear out the parts
No.
more slowly if you don't cool it?
No, I just keep it on. That's how I've always been with computers. I just never turn them off. My last computer was never turned off. I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, at some point it is turned off because you've got to do things. Occasionally, you have to put another hard drive in or whatever you've got to do. Move it, clean it, whatever. There is a necessity to have a power button. At some stage, you need to turn it off. But typically, like now, it doesn't get turned off. It just gets left on. And then I set it to turn the screen off after 5 minutes, and then it goes into sleep after 15 minutes. So in sleep mode, it just dumps everything that's on the desktop into the memory and then just sits there dormant, running about 5 watts until you want to use it. And then you just move the mouse and it all comes back to life again. Fires up and, because it's not got any fans running, it just silently just turns on like nothing's happened. It takes 2 seconds and then the computer's fully functional again. You're like, great. Whereas restarting it, yeah, okay, it takes 30 seconds. It's got an SSD that's Gen 4 or whatever, M.2 NVMe drive, so it's really quick to restart, but 30 seconds isn't as quick as 2 seconds. So I've just never bothered turning them off. I'm like, when people faff about how long their computer takes to power up, oh, look at my Mac, it turns on immediately. Yeah, it turns on immediately because it's gone into a sleep state. It's not actually off. Well, I like that. So it's like, how can you do that on a normal computer then? So like a Mac, when you just open it, it's on. Well, I want my computer to do that. So sleep is the answer. Of course, sleep relies on very stable memory, something that this computer does not do well.
I've never
That's what me and my wife tend to do with the PC that she uses, especially when she works from home. Instead of us turning it off, we leave it in the sleep mode. And we find that it not only comes on better and everything's already there. We don't have to wait for all of this things to turn over and boot up and everything, but it's already still connected to its hard drive, it's hardwired Ethernet cord and everything. So the functionality is much more efficient when we left it like that. So that's how we keep it. So
yeah,
You better have a good monitor though.
Huh?
Say again?
You gotta have a good monitor because my monitor sucks. It's all black, but you can see like the backlit LED, which is trash. So
No,
you see
mine
a
does that.
floating
Mine's
black screen.
Nah, that's normal. Unless it's a really high-end monitor, that's perfectly normal. You'll see light bleed along the edges where the panel that's lighting it all, or often it's in multiple different sections.
It's hell of annoying.
That's just the way it goes. That's just how monitors are. So long as you've got something on it, I know what you're saying. When it's black, you can just see light
Yeah.
bleed all around the edges. That's normal.
Yeah. What about OLED?
Well, they're better. They're individually lit LEDs, so you don't have to have this giant back light to light the thing. They're lighting themselves.
I'm about to buy one of those right now. Then
Sure, but how much is an OLED?
I'm about to find out.
A lot.
Yeah, I first heard
When you
about
say
that. The new Nintendo Switch have OLED screens. That's where I first
That's
heard
right.
about
Yeah.
OLED.
what's
Yeah, I mean, it's good.
OLED? No
Everything will
LED.
have that. Eventually, everything will have that because
When you s-
it needs to be. Everything needs to be done that way because it's the best way of doing it. It's not the best way of doing it. It's just one way of doing it that's a bit better than we currently do it. But you know what I mean?
when you say no LED, you mean no LED? Is that like an acronym? You just shorten it up? No LED. What do you mean? I know you're
OLED.
not talking about
OLED.
OLED. OLED.
OLED. Oh, okay, gotcha. Optimal LED.
I don't know what it
guess.
stands for. Don't ask me that.
I don't know.
Just
I wonder how much
controls
better it is than HDR.
just controls backlight better.
Better. When I saw it
LED.
first come out years ago, I saw it on a Sharp stand, Sharp TVs, and in Vegas, and I was, as soon as I saw it, I was like, "What is this technology? OLED. Oh, okay, this is very, very good. Quick response times on the pixels, deep blacks, bright, vibrant, everything you could want out of a monitor."
I looked it up and because I asked how much better is OLED than HDR, and the answer was, at least according to Google, is OLED's better contrast ratio is going to give it a slight edge in terms of HDR when viewed in dark rooms.
HDR is a
But
technology that
HDR
you run on your monitor. That's not the monitor. When you're talking about the pixel technology, that's the monitor.
Yeah, it stands for organic light emitting diode, and 27-inch monitor is like $800. So yeah, this is a lot more expensive.
Sure, but HDR is a technology that's incorporated on the disc, and you can film in HDR, and then you can reconstruct it via various different technologies on discs and sometimes broadcast. But that's a technology you can also fake HDR, so the monitor can put in a little circuit that fakes that process. It's just giving you a high contrast, high dynamic contrast. That's what it's actually doing. But
Yeah, it's a type of archetype software.
yeah,
Right.
well, I don't want to just call it a software because that's demeaning what HDR is, but it is something that you can add after the fact if you've got the technology in your monitor, but it isn't the technology of the monitor. It isn't the pixels.
and one thing I noticed with HDR, because I got an HDR TV that I display everything on, is
HDR 10 or HDR 100?
is that the lower the resolution, like the better the colors are. So like the higher, if I go like to 4K resolutions, the color won't be as popping as if I lowered it down to 1080p, right? Like for a game that uses HDR.
Okay,
It's
I don't know
something else
why.
I noticed. So it makes me wonder if they use the other pixels to like help with the colors or something like that, right?
I don't know.
But that,
Maybe.
anyways,
I don't like
I fell for
HDR.
the gimmick.
I've got it
I
on the
fell for the
projector and
gimmick
on this
of
monitor, and I turned it off. I tried it and I was like, I didn't like it, so I turned it off.
I fell for the gimmick of a curved Samsung display. So I have a 4K TV that has the curved display. I just look back and think of it like, God, that's retarded.
Yeah, they're fine if you're playing games on them and you're going to be sat a couple of feet away from them, so it sort of wraps around you. It's very
There you
immersive.
go with that stat word.
Yeah, but watching a movie on a curved monitor is not a good thing.
My
On
brother hates
another
when you
note,
say
Nathan.
stat
On
instead of
another note,
saying.
Nathan, you seem to be having a kind of a rough day. So you can see the glass half full. Just want to let you know what I've experienced in the last 24 hours. So a pipe busts, and I go in the garage, and there's like maybe a half inch of 10 square feet, 10, 15 square feet of water. I'm thinking it's the water heater. I'm hoping it's not the water heater. It's not. Ends up to be a pipe in between the wall at the garage, opposite side of where my family room is. So my carpet, one like little small portion of my carpet, I would say about the same size as what the flooding is in the garage, is soaking wet, soggy. I'm hoping there's not going to be any subfloor damage. It wasn't for days. It was only, we caught it within a few hours. So hopefully there's not much water damage. So now I'm sitting here waiting for a plumber to come. Had to tell my boss, who, mind you, I've only got today, Wednesday, and Thursday to work for until I start my new job Monday. I text him and say, I'm not going to be able to make it. Such, this is what happened. Don't you know this SOB said, well, you're going to have to come in? I was about to tell him, you can fuck yourself with an egg beater through your butthole. I don't care. I'm not coming in at all if you're going to give me a hard time. But instead, I kept myself professional and I said, well, I'll be mighty late. So he has the nerve. My wife's on the, I'm talking to him, reading the text back to her. She's fuming. Hey, perhaps your wife can stay with the plumbers. Woo! I was about to go. I called him FaceTime because I was going to go in on him. What he doesn't understand is, dude, I'm giving you 3 days out of respect. Right now, I can say, go freak yourself, and and you be stuck with the patients that's on the schedule. So I just text him with a nice pressure. I say, look, it's not going to happen. My wife has sacrificed other times for my obligation to retinal consultants. I have no obligation anymore. Matter of fact, I don't have to come in all this week. I'm doing you a favor by coming in this week because of my professional courtesy to you for my 2 weeks notice, which I actually gave you in 3.5 weeks. So I left it at that. He come back apologizing. So,
I forgot people still have jobs.
well, I forgot people have the gall like he does to come at me like that when I don't need him anymore. Not that I ever needed
That's
him,
why
but
that's why he's coming at you like that. And another thing, you're gonna have to take that carpet up. You're gonna have mold underneath there.
Yeah,
You gotta
Yeah.
just
get
to
it
get rid of it.
off
Yeah.
the floor.
yeah, I thought so. Yeah. Say what you said about the floor, under the floor.
To get rid of the carpet.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You got to get the carpet up and out of there. That's got to air.
Hold on. You're roboting. You said take the
To your
carpet up.
subfloor.
You
So-
said you
He said, let the floor
roboting.
air. He's saying, get all the stuff that's insulating the water off the floor so that it's just the floor and let it air. Let all the
got you.
You
moisture
can
get
rent
out.
some.
Yeah.
You can rent out some vacuum heaters or something like that.
No, a
I got
dehumidifier. You need to mop it all up as much as possible, get every scrap of water out with towels, and then go and get a dehumidifier for $100 and rent it for 2 or 3 days and just stick it on permanently, check it every 2 hours.
Are you
Okay.
speaking from experience there,
That's
Nathan?
Yes, I
correct.
am. Yes.
Just start
I've had
ripping this rug up now.
multiple burst pipes in this flat on every single occasion because I'm in the middle flat. I flood the person below me to her detriment. Very tolerant. In the last week, just to make you feel a little better, the drains have all been blocked in this particular apartment. So for longer than that, about a fortnight, it's been endless, constant bottles of drain cleaner. Now, 5 years ago, when a drain got blocked, I would go down to my local plumbing store and buy something called Drain Rod, which is basically sulfuric acid. And you just pour sulfuric acid down the drain and it clears it in about 3 minutes. You can't
Right.
buy it anymore. Unless you've got a plumbing license, you can't just buy sulfuric acid. So I'm like, well, how do I clear this drain? It's like, what am I going to do? So my wife's like, well, this is the strongest stuff you can buy. So after about the 6th bottle, right, it's still blocked. It's just draining. And every time anything runs, the dishwasher, the washing machine, the sink, it just fills the bath up. It backfills the bath. So you're just dealing day after day after day with a bath full of raw sewage and drains that won't block. Now, we had a plumber booked for tomorrow, and through persistence, I've managed to clear it through, like I say, bottle after bottle after bottle of drain cleaner and 2 plungers. We bought 2 new plungers, breaking the other ones, and eventually figured out a way of blocking up every single orifice of this piping system and then plunging one particular sink to free the blockage. And finally, yesterday, it all went. But you can imagine 2 straight weeks of non-stop plumbing issues, and you open the dishwasher, everything looks clean, and you go, it stinks. Well, because it's backfilling with fucking sewage. So you're like, oh, this is a nightmare. And the whole time, computer problems and various other issues that I've been telling the show about, because you don't tend to air your personal issues on the show. But as you've done it, I'm going to take the opportunity to moan too. So there you go. Yeah.
Damn, sorry about that.
No, well, I'm sorry you've had plumbing issues too. It's just one of those things, isn't it?
I mean, I don't feel better, but I feel, like, damn.
You know what's weird is I got a new
Listen-
washer again. with the warranty, and I told my mother, I said, if we have it outside, it voids the warranty. And she's like, well, don't tell them it's outside then. But I know for a second, this $1,000 washer is the expansor valve is gonna hold water and pop because of the freezing cold. And yep, happens every fucking year.
Yeah. Bummer. On the upside, my wife's crappy old car that was in storage for a prolonged period of time while we had a family car, which is now broken and dead and gone, was also troublesome. Shocking. Old car that's troublesome? No way. Anyway, a very good mechanic that we use figured out what part it was, gave us the part. Well, he didn't give us the part number. He showed us on the schematic which it was. And after a lot of sleuthing, we tracked it down and got the part number, found the part, got it, took it to him and went, here you go. He fitted it on the car, this one part, 20 quid, little rubber right-angled hose. That was it. And now, the car's like new. It just drives beautifully. Absolutely fantastic. Just like it was when I remembered it, just after she got
What
it all
part was
tuned
it?
up. And it was all like, wow, this is blisteringly quick and really nice and refined. It doesn't rattle. Drives beautifully fast. Everything you could want in a car. You're like, it's like that again, just from one part that costs $20.
What part was it?
A little air hose. It's
He
like
told you.
after the MAF sensor, there's like just takes the air into the engine by this right angle, but because it's blowing at this right angle, the pressure blows through. Since it's been tuned, it runs at slightly higher pressure, and it's just blown through this rubber right angle.
Did you say right angle?
Yeah,
You're gonna need a flat Earth for that.
the hose going into an engine, Neil,
Wow.
goes into the
No
plenum.
try,
shit,
you try.
Sherlock.
Anyway,
You said the TikTok videos already came out, Nathan, on the other channel?
I've released it to members already. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Got time, unless the conversation, because it means playing a video. So if this conversation's going to continue and we're all warmed up now, which was the point of me sharing my woes, as was D-Rose. Now we're all warmed up, right? Don't need to play a video, but if no one's going to talk, I am going to play it.
One thing first, are you sat or are you sitting?
Am I sat or am I sitting?
Yeah, it's a big debate.
What?
Hey, I got another question. Hey, Neil, you there? Well, I thought Neil was there.
Play the video,
He
Nathan.
left. Well, anyway, here's a real quick question. We have a professional carpet cleaner thing that aspirates water as it cleans. Is it possible that we can do that? Anybody can answer.
Are you asking Neil?
No, Neil's not here. So I'm asking anybody.
What are you asking? If you
Neil.
need to wash the carpet?
Yeah, if we take our thing out, we have like a stand-up kind of, it's pretty much industrial floor cleaner, because we don't like to pay people to clean our floors, our carpet. So, and if we use that as the aspirating thing and clean it, would that help?
No.
Or is it?
No, you need to take the
Okay.
carpet out of the building because it is saturated, as is the floor.
Got you.
And you need the
Got
floor to be completely open. I mean, you can vacuum it
Got
and
you.
vax it, but it will just go moldy and you'll just end up destroying it.
Got you.
Play the
Yeah,
video.
because the most important thing is to save the subfloor of anything. Yeah, I got you.
The thing you need to do is dry out the structure that the carpet's going to sit on. That's the important thing. And to do that,
Right.
I would suggest, given the extent of the damage that you've described, you're going to need a dehumidifier, an industrial one that's loud and noisy and irritating, and you're going to need to run it for 2 or 3 days.
Play the
Otherwise,
video.
you'll just have mold. You'll just get mold everywhere.
Right, got you.
But you'll be shocked. You'll run a dehumidifier, and after the first day, when you've been tending to it every hour, pulling out the little bucket that's got, I don't know, 6 or 7 litres of water, and you're like, my God, the amount of water. You pour it all out, you stick it back in, go back in an hour later, and it's got exactly the same amount in it. And you're like, when does this end? And then after about day 2, you're like only emptying it every, 3 or 4 hours.
Put the video.
Appreciate your advice.
No worries. Well, I mean, this video is something that we've actually, we
Where
produce
she
this.
run her mouth most at TikTok or something like that? I know there's this one girl that goes live all the time. She has this monotone, put you to sleep, little shrill voice.
No,
Always
this
seems
one's a
like
little
she's
more lively. Her
composed.
name's Skylar, and the link is right there. Is her TikTok thing. It's Philly the Space. Foul the Space. I don't know her channel name.
I guarantee you.
Check it out.
I guarantee when I look at it, it's probably her. I'm gonna go look right now.
Philly Deli Space.
This is not the same one that I was.
Not the same
Thinking
one.
of-
Yeah, not the same one I was thinking. The one I'm talking about is blonde. I suggest we do the next review on her specifically to bring out the
Ramifications described within Einsteinian fourth-dimensional pseudo-geometry, my love. Maybe you were unaware of that.
They show up because the gravitational fields aren't constant.
Gravitational what now? Again, described in a pseudo-geometry.
They vary depending how far away you are from the source of the field.
Really? The variation of gravity? What, this non-force described in pseudo-geometry? How can that vary in physical reality? Oh, it can't. This sounds like an elongated process of reification.
Here's an easy way to visualize tidal forces. This is the Earth down here, and we've got a
Sorry, why am I visualizing tidal forces when you could be showing us spaghettification?
bunch of balls up above the Earth's surface, and they're arranged
Are they?
kind of like this. If
Really? What, like gas particles above Earth's surface, obeying entropy, spreading out, leaving everybody dead? What kind of balls are these?
we drop them all at the same time, they're all going to feel a pull of gravity, but the gravity
Really? What about the gas I just described? Does gas have the pull of gravity working upon it? Or does gas expand in all directions? Sounds like this chick doesn't know what gas is, or how gas behaves, when she describes little balls all moving towards the centre of Earth? No. What's this chick's name? Fiddledy Space?
Skylar, like the sky.
Skylar? Skylar, you don't know what you're talking about. You're describing these concepts that first and foremost have been derived by flat planes, and then reifying them into physicality, describing how, gas go down, go boom boom to the centre of Earth? Oh dear, no, gas behaviour defies this force of gravity you're about to reify.
is going to vary for each ball. The ball at the bottom is going to feel a stronger force down compared to the ball at the top.
Really? So you're saying gas go down, go boom boom? No, definitely not. You see, gas would defy this utter tribe.
And then the ones at the side are going to be angled in slightly. So as the
When gas behaviour is that it moves randomly in all directions. I'm thinking not, love. No, there's no gas moving to the centre of your ball Earth bullshit.
balls fall, they're going to go from this shape to this shape, just due from the different gravities that they experience at these points. Now, these are all separate objects, but we could still consider them to be one solid thing, and you would see the same effect. Imagine we have a moon, and that moon is moving closer and closer to its planet for whatever reason. As it gets closer, we're going to have a
No, this works outside the context of orbital motion, which is derived from a flat plane. This girl has got absolutely no idea what she's babbling about, has she?
much stronger gravitational pull at the bottom of
Right, gravity is not a force. George Musa, Scientific American. What's this chick's name? Skylar? Yo, Skylar! George Musa, you might want to go and have a little chat with him about gravity not being a force. Oh, what's that? This chick's only educated to a high school level, so is now describing and reifying gravity as a force when it's a bent space-time in fourth dimensions invented by Einstein. Why are you describing how much of something when it's not a force?
That's what I was going to ask, Nathan. Shouldn't she be describing how the bending of space-time is causing all of this?
She's only educated to a high school level. She thinks she's being clever. She thinks she's detailing pseudo-Riemannian force space-time bending when she describes how much force affects the moon. It's not force. She's just a bimbo.
it than the top. And as this thing is orbiting around, it's actually going to get sheared apart.
Sorry, orbiting? This motion described by way of a derivation of a flat plane measurement? No, what you're guilty of, bimbo, is reification. Long word, huh? Maybe look it up.
Ripping apart of moons is what can form rings, and it's actually going to happen to Mars down the line as its...
Is it? That sounds like a baseless assertion based on a reification derived from an R value that's been put into motion in an orbit that's come from a flat plane?
Moons are moving closer and closer to the surface.
Are
So
they?
we
Show me. Prove it.
do see these sort of tidal impacts all the time.
What,
Spaghetti
with gas? Do we see tidal impacts with gas that's dispersing in line with natural law, second law of thermodynamics? Something you just defied with your little diagram. And your force of gravity that's been out of date for 108 years. Yeah, are you that far out of touch with the reality that you don't even know what gravity is for you to describe and quantify how much of it there'll be? It's not a force, my love.
Magnification is just an extreme version of this. Because a black hole's gravity is so strong, you don't have to be
Strong? What, like a force? The strongness of a black hole that's been described through the reification process of taking an orbital motion derived from a flat plane and then having Neil deGrasse Tyson tell you what lensing effects will happen when describing light and its gravitational attraction within a bent 4D spacetime, and how that'll affect what you see through a telescope. Absolutely sad.
as big as a moon in order to have big differences in the force from
Right,
one.
the size of the moon is derived also from flat plane measurements. R-value derivations. Christian Huygens superimposing the size of a presupposed spherical Earth derived from a flat plane onto Venus in line with the orbital motion that came from Kepler. This is so far over your head. About as high over your head as your hand's showing right now, love. That's how far over your head this is.
One side of you to the other. Just a single human will feel those tidal effects. I should
Really? And we feel gravity that's not a force? Say again, Chocolate. So I'm playing an edited video that I spent a day editing, so.
Yeah, my bad.
That's all right.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
I just want to say, I mean, you can't really blame her though, because like what you're saying, right? Her education level. I guess the way this all works out in the mainstream is that gravity is whatever your current education level is. So if you haven't gotten to the point where you're talking about the conceptual bending of space-time, then it is a force to you. And you can just say it nonchalant because that's what you were taught. Can't really blame them for it. You know what I mean? I don't know who this girl is.
What you're saying
but-
is ignorance is an excuse, basically.
Not an excuse, but I don't know. It's kind of sad because she's out here talking about it as a force, like with authority in her voice, and it's like that's not what it is. Your own story says that's not what it is. So, it's kind of sad, but I don't blame them for it.
Makes for good entertainment, though.
I don't know which bit to focus on. Should I focus on the bit where you say we shouldn't blame her? We're not responding to her video now because it's our video where we're talking about her video. So it's like, let's just stop. I'll stop playing it at that point. Check it out if you remember. I'll release it over the weekend if you're not.
Yeah, it's all good. I just got here. Maybe I didn't have the right context. I don't know.
No, you did. What I'm saying is,
Well, maybe
when you say I don't know if I should blame her, I don't know what you mean by blame her. We're not blaming her. We're just pointing out where she's wrong. Are we not? Maybe it's my tone.
basically,
Yeah. It was kind of like you were calling her a bimbo and shit. It's like, yeah, I get that, but like in my mind, I was like, but I mean, if she was taught that gravity is a force, and she just thinks it is, and she hasn't gotten past the point where she realizes that was outmoded 108 years ago, then like what else can she say?
what Chocolate is saying is this conceptual bending of space-time at university, but gravity at bedtime.
Yep.
She's a deaf cow.
There you go. So,
Oh man, are we really? Do you want to do this reference frames video? Oh,
You don't have to do it. I thought I just threw it out there. It's a
There's
crazy
something
one.
cool
but-
about Dell.
I'm in a foul mood today.
Okay, don't do it today. Don't even do it. Let's just do housekeeping.
Why is
I
it
don't care.
buffering?
Because you shouldn't do it.
Got a Virgin Media engineer coming tomorrow.
Yeah, just skip it for today. Don't worry about it. That's just your housekeeping. We need a
Yeah,
good
we did that
housekeeping
last week. I
session.
don't mind. We'll cover it.
Honestly,
No,
on
it's
a
a crazy.
slightly
It's a crazy one. This guy's
on a
got this
slightly
thing.
better note. Sorry, Tim. I'm sorry. I'm using my Bluetooth, so it's not as clear. But on a slightly better note, I'm at work.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you don't need to do it, Nathan. If you're in a foul mood, just skip it. Let's save it for the future.
I might have to anyway. It's buffering like all hell.
Yeah, forget it. I thought Flatzoid posted something, but then you responded to it, but I guess he didn't. Unless it's gravity is gravity. Is that the one he was meaning?
I got some news for you guys.
Hang on for a second before the news. Just let me confirm with Nathan. Did you get the Flatzoid one?
I had to look while I was at a class with my eldest daughter. Play. Yes, it seems to be playing. I'm just trying to do something else at the minute 10th. Sorry.
Sorry. All right, tell him when you're free.
Look at yourselves for a minute.
Gene, you were saying something? Hello? Chocolate. Talk amongst yourself, he says.
Gene dropped out briefly. Looks like he's having mic issues. So
no problem.
Good.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Owen. Are we late? What time is it?
Nope.
No, you got 1 minute.
Yep. 30 seconds.
Fine.
Don't rush.
Well, we could always fill the rest of the dead air with a countdown.
Well, Flatzoid's got a video called Gravity Causes Gravity, I think. I think that's the one he wanted you to do.
Yeah, I saw it on, like I say, in my home ed class. I watched it because obviously there's a class going on. I had to put it on with subtitles and just read what he was saying. And I got about a third of the way through. And maybe it was because I was reading it rather than listening to him, but I wasn't really picking up what he was putting down, if I'm perfectly honest.
I haven't seen it either.
Plus, it was too long. You know, it's
Yeah,
it's
just
to be saying,
25 minutes.
here's my entry for today's show, or something like that. And I'm like, okay, no offense, but an expectation of me watching a half-hour video, it's like the chances are zero. Like literally, when we're going to read it on the way to the home ed class, during the home ed class, that's when I actually did attempt to read it or watch it. It's like, no offense, Flatzoid, but I don't think you realise how time restrained I am. But anyway, I didn't get to watch it. I just, like I say, watched the first third of it with subtitles, and that's about it.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you all.
Morning.
Any evidence of...
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we do. Stag.
Hey, Nathan. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
I think I have a flat earth proof that I'd like to share and get you guys' take on it, if we have time.
Always got time? Does it have any direct
Awesome.
connection to a housekeeping question that I can ask prior to you going through it, or not?
Put me on the spot. It's kind of in line with QE's solar and the salt flats.
Okay. Well, hold fire for 1 second. We'll ask a couple of quick housekeeping questions, then we'll do it. Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline? That's right. Stigoli is waiting in the wings to do something, but also dead air's nice.
No.
Perfect. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Not that I can feel.
Or measure. Okay. Off you go, Stigoli. I'd just like to get the housekeeping actually out of the way, a couple of them at least.
All right, yep, sounds good. So have you guys ever discussed abyssal planes?
Yes.
Okay, all right, well, that kind of steals my thunder. That was my thing. Yeah, I I saw them yesterday watching a YouTube video about mineral collection at the bottom of the ocean floor. And a couple of their words stuck out to me, and I did a little research on it. Very cursory research, Google searches. And yeah, it's kind of in line with, like I was saying, with QE's argument about the salt flats and how there's, let me just go to the, no, they vary, there's 9,000 square kilometers in surface, and they only vary in depth from 10 to 100 centimeters per kilometer. So I thought that was a flat Earth proof.
Yeah, it's a plane. And the plane, in terms of its undulations, if you will, is measured with reference to the horizontal. So it's a plane, and its deviation to reference horizontal. You couldn't get more flat Earth proofy. Absolutely. Yeah, spot on.
Well, thanks. Yep, that was it, though. I didn't know you guys had already talked. I must have missed that show. Maybe the one I missed.
No, we've talked about abyssal planes on several occasions, and they've come up on various different shows, not just Flat Earth Debate that I've done. It's not something new, but that doesn't change the fact that there's plenty of people in the audience that are like, abyssal planes? What's he talking about? Maybe you can expand on what they actually are. I know you already have, but it's always good to reiterate these things.
Sure. I'll just read from Google. Abyssal plane, flat seafloor area at an abyssal depth between 3,000 and 6,000 meters. That's 10 to 20,000 feet. Generally adjacent to a continent. I think it's, from what I was reading, it's formed from like sediment. These submarine surfaces vary in depth only from 10 to 100 centimeters per kilometer of horizontal distance.
Right. I see what you mean, like the solar. Yeah. There's very little relief. If it's, obviously it's not going to have relief. It's water on top of the abyssal plane. But in this regard, yeah, I totally get it. It's an excellent flat Earth proof. And the clue is in the title, right? Plane.
Right. It's really flat. Impossible on the globe.
Okay, we have got a video to cover today. Now, how well it gets covered, I don't know, because I'm having some internet issues, and I do have an engineer coming out to replace my router tomorrow. But in the pre-show, when I tried to queue this up, it wasn't particularly great. So if we have to abandon it, I'm going to apologise in advance to PhysicsHigh. Okay, cool. I like the name. I won't give you a like just yet because you haven't watched your stuff. But he's going to be talking about what are reference frames in physics. Cool. Okay. My absolute least favourite subject is axial rotation and the Coriolis effect. Unless John's here. Because I'm not as smart as he is, and I miss this every time, which makes me laugh at myself. I'm amused by my own ignorance when John comes along in his Lamborghini and points out that to derive a flat plane measurement of a radius will give you the axes that you're now rotating. In other words, you're going to need a flat Earth for that. But like I say, I still, to this day, I can't help it. You get into the weeds of reference frames when talking Coriolis. Now, it may not be that that's what he's specifically referencing in this video, but as always, go and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. The vain hope is that this particular videographer... Oh, why isn't that changed? There we go. This videographer would return the favour and offer us up some algorithmic love where YouTube offer us none. And put a link to our video, if he were to respond. Chance would be a fine thing. We've done a lot of these videos. Anyway, we'll get straight into it, unless there's a preamble from 10th.
No preamble, just a lot of weird stuff he says when he's covering that subject.
Okay.
Hi, and welcome to High School Physics Explained. My name is Paul, and today I'm going to be talking about what frames of reference are.
There you go, as I say, let him know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me.
Two types, how you can tell the difference, and why an understanding of frames of reference is an important step in getting to understand Einstein's theory of relativity. So stay tuned.
What? Theory of relativity? It's not a theory. It's not scientifically validated. It's not physics.
Tuned.
What? Why are we talking about Einstein in High School Physics Explained? What's going on?
Well,
have I missed something?
This is why I posted this video. He says a lot of things that don't belong in physics, but he calls it under the heading of physics.
Is Einstein physics?
Well, it's a
But you
concept.
could think of it as physics.
What is pseudo geometry can be thought of as physics? The geometry
Conception.
that's
Conceptually.
pseudo-Riemannian. It's in the title. How can you call this physics? The title of the geometry itself is pseudo.
So what's a frame of reference? Well, consider it a bit like your own personal XYZ axis. It's the way you view the world, and everything around you is relative to you.
Really? What if I'm describing a man on a roundabout observing a ball tossed over it? I'm not observing anything that's being detailed in that effect. I mean, we're off to a pretty bad start. I'm surprised I'll be able to critique him.
So, relative to me, this ball's right beside me at a certain distance.
Yeah, in this setting, yes, you have got something relative to you in your example. But I, separate from the example, can detail a man on a roundabout watching a ball tossed over the top, and detail the two reference frames, and detail the observation from the man's perspective. Not mine.
So is the steering wheel. And around me, I can see cars moving, and I can see trees moving, all relative to me. Now, of course, that's relative to me and not necessarily to the people around me. But that's the point. Motion, its displacement, its velocity, and so forth, is all determined really by who is observing it. That's why we call it relativity.
I wonder how he's got that bowling ball secured. That's pretty good. Has he actually drilled a hole in his roof to secure this bowling ball?
It's probably
So as I
attached
drive
to his
around-
visor.
No, it's attached to the car roof. But that's pretty heavy, and I'm pretty sure the headline is not going to sustain it.
Everything is stationary. The laws of physics behave the way they should do. Everything around me is moving. So I'm stationary in my frame of reference, but the world around me is moving. But what about...
No. That's apparently moving. The world around you is not moving. That house next to it, this house isn't moving, right? It's apparently moving. Yeah? So the force of it moving is a pseudo force because it isn't moving. It looks like it's moving.
Someone looking at me from the side of the road.
Ads.
If someone observing me going past, well, they would have a different perspective. They would see me moving and they're stationary, as opposed to them being moving and I'm stationary. So we're having different frames of reference here, and both are correct.
I'm finding this laughable at times, the way he's saying it.
For the most part, it's all right.
So I've got this
Okay, he's
ball
in a
hanging.
car that's moving. He's one with the car that's moving. The car is moving, but he's not moving. What the heck?
No, that's perfectly legitimate. What he's saying is he is as one with his reference frame. Now, that would be to describe a non-inertial reference frame or a non-inertial frame of reference, right? So on the roundabout, when we describe Coriolis deflection, what frame of reference is the person who is factually moving a part of? The non-inertial frame of reference. Why is it non-inertial? Big shout out to Paula, not my wife, but Bible you, who explained this to me. Why is it non-inertial? Yeah? Why is it that that guy can describe he not moving when he's in a car that's moving, and then that reference frame will become the non-inertial frame of reference? Not moving frame of reference, you say? That makes no sense. No, it does. Because as far as he is concerned, he's not running, he's not walking, he's not spinning, he's not moving. Right? He is as one with the frame of reference that is moving. So when he details the apparent, although he didn't say that, deflection of the house next to him and says it's moving, well, no, it's apparently moving, but we'll just brush past that. I've already addressed it. Yeah? Well, that apparent motion is in the inertial frame of reference. So his non-inertial frame of reference is the car moving, and the description of something moving, with respect to him, in this case a house, is detailed in the inertial frame of reference. Now, if you have movement in that frame of reference, it's a pseudo force moving it, because it's a house, right? But he's just described that house moving, hasn't he? Yeah, it's with respect to his non-inertial force of habit, his non-inertial frame of reference that's moving. That's the car. So if you're on a roundabout and you're looking down at the floorboards, you look at them and go, well, nothing's moving, I'm not moving, I'm perfectly still, and so is the ground I'm on. Yeah? Now, the fact that that is a turning platform is irrelevant to how you'll describe it in this effect, because the Coriolis deflection that you describe how much it bends. Hello? It's not actually bending, though, is it? The ball's tossed over the top of the roundabout and goes straight. But when we describe it with Coriolis deflection, we describe how much the ball bends. Yeah? Because you, on the non-inertial turning reference frame, see the ball bending. Look, it's bending through the air. And no, it's not. It's just looking like it's bending. It's an apparent deflection, like the house is apparently moving past the car. No.
Yeah, but he said that ball on the string, which is definitely moving, is like his steering wheel, which is not moving. And the steering wheel, and the ball are in the car that's moving. So there, I find something at fault there.
Okay, well, we'll find out what he's going to do with the ball. He hasn't actually fully referenced it yet.
Here, and the reason I've got it hanging here is because it allows us to examine the laws of physics in terms of my frame of reference. Currently, it's hanging nice and vertically, and that's because gravity is pulling it down. Now,
no, it's because it's more dense than the air it's in.
Nathan, notice he has to grab it and keep it still.
Yeah, well, I mean, the problem is that in theory, he's got this pendulum, hasn't he? Right? And the idea is that, like a gyroscope, he's giving us something that is supposedly remaining fixed in space. Yeah? In this case, is plumb bob or pendulum.
is that I am stationary relative to you. The person on the side of the road would see me moving. So actually I am moving at the same time. Moving, stationary, it really depends on who's observing it. But the physics behind the motion of this ball doesn't change. So in reality, I'm actually not sure whether I actually truly am moving. Maybe the universe is rushing past me. Now I'm stationary now, and I always have been stationary.
Okay, so now he's slipping in his Einsteinian concept, which is, I've already addressed it, right? No. To say that you couldn't tell the difference, therefore it is the case that the universe is brushing past you and you are in fact stationary, is absurd. No. You are in fact moving. You can describe your movement with respect to other things moving past you, like houses, from a non-inertial reference frame. That's it.
Relative to me, and the cars outside are moving relative to me. I'm in what we call an inertial frame of reference. The physics in this car is behaving like I expect it to. So you can see this ball is hanging vertically as you would expect it to in a gravitational field. But in a moment, I'm going to...
What gravitational field? We would expect it to do that because it's more dense than the air that it's surrounded by. Not because of some gravitational field. If it's surrounded by a gravitational field, why isn't all the gas that's rushing in and out of your lungs pooling at the bottom of the car? It's got mass. Fields of gravity in this Einsteinian pseudo-geometry are affected by that, right? In fact, it's the root cause, according to Einstein's maths. The uneven distribution of mass will cause the bending and warping of his pseudo-force-based geometry. Okay. So, mass, that would be air. Unaffected, you say? Yeah, that's because it's nonsense. There is no gravitational force in this car. Gas isn't going down, go boom boom. The clouds above him aren't going down, go boom boom. The helium balloon, if it was in the car, would be going up. So, no, there is no gravitational force.
Accelerate as I go around the corner.
I was going to bring in the helium balloon, but see, what he's got there is some kind of string with a heavier ball of some kind, and then like a canopy bottom to hold it up. If you remove that canopy bottom, that black ball is going to fall down to the floorboard. But if you replace that with a string and a helium balloon, it'd be hitting the ceiling, and we'd see the string hanging down, And would he be saying that the string, the gravitational force, is just pulling the string down, but not the balloon?
Right.
As the lights turn green. And let's see what happens to my ball. Swings back. And swings to the side. In that
Yeah, he's not so irritating that you want the ball to smash in his face when he turns the other way, is he? I mean, he's all right.
case, I was in what we call a non-inertial frame of reference. That is...
Pause, please.
I've already covered this, but go on.
So why isn't that happening on the outside of their spinning ball to everything that's on the outside?
Right on. What you mean we'd notice? Yes.
Yeah, like he's noticing there.
Yeah. But then they go on to say that the effect would be so minute that you wouldn't be able to measure it, only to have someone like Adam come along and do the maths for exactly how you'd be able to measure it with a basic accelerometer.
Hang on. He just went into a roundabout at what speed compared to 1,000 miles per hour?
Yeah, you're saying that the rim velocity or edge velocity of his path on this roundabout is, what, more than the edge velocity of 1,000 miles an hour at the equator? Yeah, but comparatively, the effect that you would notice is calculable into a force that you would detect with an accelerometer. But you're talking about orders of magnitude less than this in terms of what would be detectable on a G meter, for the sake of argument. However, it is still a detectable amount that is not occurring. Regardless of how small, it's not quantitative in that regard. It's qualitative. If it happens, if Earth is turning, then we would have a measurable rate that we could see and detect on an accelerometer. I don't know the exact maths. Adam would have to be here to back me up in this regard. I don't think he is at the moment. But nevertheless, it's not like it's comparable as you are comparing it, where you're saying, oh, well, he's only going 10 mile an hour around this round. Look at the bowling ball's flung right out. Yeah. And what, you're going to now say that because it's 1,000 miles an hour edge velocity at the equator that we'd be flung out? Well, yes and no. The amount that you'd actually detect is minuscule, but it would be detectable. That's the point.
Who on this show or in the audience hasn't been in a car where you make a sharp turn and you feel like you're coming out of your seat?
Yeah, we'd have those effects measurable all day long, every day, everywhere, on the surface of a ball flying through space at horrendous speeds. There's changes of motion that would cause everyone to throw up. You ever been on a waltzer?
Mm-hmm.
My ball is not behaving, and so as a result, you can tell that I'm moving. So
if we're moving, there's things that let us know that we're moving because you can tell. But that's not how Earth behaves, though. In that regard, there's nothing to detect because there's nothing happening.
May I interrupt again, please? He just said something. Please rewind 3 seconds.
Inertial frame of reference. That is, my ball is not behaving, and so as a result, you can tell that I'm moving.
Stop.
So,
how many times have we seen those cranes with the ball hanging still? But it's on the Earth that's moving. How come the crane with the ball isn't moving like the ball in the car?
Earth's not moving. There's nothing to detect.
An inertial frame of reference is a case where my frame of reference is moving at a constant velocity or it's stationary.
So, therefore, if moving at a constant velocity, what are you going to say that you're not going to notice? And therefore, juxtapose that with what he said earlier, where Einstein says that you wouldn't know if Earth's moving or the universe is moving past it. You wouldn't be able to tell any difference.
Really, what we're saying is there's no net forces being applied to my frame of reference.
Other than there is.
So I'm not accelerating, and that's a critical point. And as a result,
critical point that would be overcome by the fact that Earth in a turning motion would give you varying accelerative frames of reference all day, every day. And you'd definitely notice.
The laws of physics behave as I expect it to. And this is where the ball comes in. this ball is hanging down, and as I would expect it to in terms of a gravitational field. Yes,
there is no gravitational field. Yeah, gas isn't doing what you would describe gas to be doing if its mass, which you and your vernacular has it described as. It's not behaving in line with your ideas of what a gravitational field will do. Gas is not going down, it's expanding in all directions.
yes, it's swinging a little bit
Nathan.
because of
Yes.
Nathan, just for the obvious, you're looking at relative density disequilibrium. You got something denser than the air. It's being held up by a string and a little canopy underneath it. Now they're going to hijack that and call that this magical force gravity, which later when you go to school, it doesn't exist. This is what's happening here.
the bumpiness of the road, but it's not behaving counterintuitively. It's behaving as I expected. And you may have this habit yourself. If, for example, you were to stand on a train and it's moving at a constant velocity, you could throw the ball up and down with relative ease. It behaves just as if you're stationary. But that's the point. You're stationary relative to you. You're not stationary relative to the person on the platform.
Correct.
And so the laws of physics behave as you would expect them. But what if we added acceleration to our frame of reference? I'm now about to go into a roundabout.
If he did bolt this ball to the roof, then 39,000 views is it would annoy me greatly if that's the only number of views I got for wrecking my roof.
So what you notice now is that the ball swung out. It did.
Oh, it's not a bowling ball, it's super light. When he touched it then, you could tell it had no heft. It's probably just touched the headliner with a safety pin then.
Did not behave in terms of my gravitational field. There's other forces at play. It's
in a face mask. It's a ball in a face mask.
It's non-inertial, and that's why we call it a non-inertial frame of reference. And only then do I know I'm actually moving, because I'm non-inertial. So I'm back now in my inertial frame of reference. Inertial because my car is now going at a constant velocity. But the fact is, I'm actually still stationary relative to me. I'm only moving because the trees around me appear to be moving, but for all intents and purposes, I'm actually still stationary, and someone's got a computer screen playing a moving picture. And here's the rub.
That's actually not a bad way of describing it. Right, so as we're watching his video, yeah, we are with him in the non-inertial frame of reference. Therefore, what are we watching? Are we watching a guy running in and out of frame? Or is he perfectly static within the frame? Perfectly static within the frame, right? So in the same way, when you're on a movie set and you can't have actors doing their job with cars rushing past, you just reverse this. You have the car stationary and then you project images of stuff moving by onto the windows, or green screen in modern terms, right? So therefore, the end result is the same for you looking through the lens of the camera like we are now looking at him. So that's a good way of describing it. I'll applaud him in that regard. You as the viewer get to see this from the non-inertial frame of reference. Useful. I'll have that. That's mine now.
I can't prove that I'm moving, because in fact, it all depends on who's observing that will determine whether I'm moving. And so therefore, there's no experiment that I can do that...
Experiment? If you're observing non-inertial frames of reference, there's very limited scenarios that you could put that into a scientific context. That would be to say that when we tried it once, we took a couple of hours over it on an after show once, maybe longer. And what we ended up with was you have a whirlpool. For whatever reason, there's like a levee that's broken or something like that, and a natural pool. But underneath, there's a leak that gets sprung through the side of the hill, right? Which means there's a whirlpool that develops in this natural lake, okay? And you get stuck in that whirlpool, so you're spinning around, right? But for whatever reason, you don't notice. You're as one with the spinning frame of reference, therefore non-inertial. Okay, so therefore when the branch at the side of the bank comes towards you, goes away, comes towards you, goes away, right? That would be the effect of the branch coming towards you, right? Well, there's an effect. So you can just about squeeze it into a scenario that has a naturally observed phenomena. Just. So he's not doing that though, is he? Right? He's just calling descriptions of non-inertial and inertial reference frames science. They're not.
Proves definitively that...
See, and that's why. Next breath. Let's hear that in one statement. Why do people say science when they haven't got a cause and effect relationship established with the hypothesis after, as I've just sandwiched in on his behalf, observing a natural phenomena, so that you can vary that which you assume causes the natural phenomena to occur when varied in the form of an experiment? Why, when he hasn't done any of that, would he say science? Well, because in the next breath he says proving, because that's what science offers people like this when they do a bit of maths. It offers them a perceived empiricism to their statement. Now, I didn't need to do that. I'd literally just given him applause, hadn't I? I was like, I'll have that. That's good, that is. You talking about us watching you in this car is a perfect example of an observation from a non-inertial reference frame. Excellent. I didn't think of it before. You have. Kudos. We're critical. We're going to be criticising your Einstein nonsense in a minute, right? So to get applause from us is seriously high praise. But literally, what's the next thing he does? Hijacks the valour of science because he knows he said something smart. He knows it's right, and he is. So why call it science? Oh, because he wants that little bit of extra credibility to really bolster that what he's just said is factually accurate, which it was. Let's hear it again.
Observing that will determine whether I'm moving. And so therefore, there's no experiment that I can do that proves definitively that I'm moving. And that's the key with relativity, or Galilean or Newtonian relativity. The laws of physics are invariant, certainly in terms of the laws of mechanics. I'm using the concept of inertia and forces and objects with mass, and so therefore we say that's classical mechanics. But Einstein took...
So, not science then?
This a step further. He said, look, this idea of relativity, or Newtonian relativity, or Galilean relativity, where you cannot prove that you're moving because you're an inertial frame of reference, well, that does not only apply to mechanical situations or mechanics situations, it should also apply to electromagnetism. In other words, the concept of light should also behave the concept of relativity. I cannot do an experiment with light to prove I'm moving.
So why would you be doing an experiment with light to prove that you are moving? I don't really follow his logic. Can anyone fill in the gaps here? Because I'm struggling to understand why you'd want to do that.
I don't know what he's talking about, but was that somebody talking?
Chocolate.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chocolate. I'll go after.
Not maybe because we're supposed to be moving. Because I hear a lot of we can't prove that we're moving, or there's no experiment to prove that we're moving. Well, but we're supposed to be moving. Isn't that the point?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say,
Oh, it's just a basic. I've assumed we're moving, but I've got no way of proving it. So let's just explain that there's no experiment that can prove it, and then go into Einsteinian, or in this case, Newtonian. The laws of motion of Newton were not right. Richard Feynman.
I can prove it. I'll even cite them to prove it. When you do celestial navigation, you got to assume the Earth is stationary and the stars, lights, are moving. When you get a drone and you get it to hover and stationary, the stars are moving. That's how you use light.
Behavior of light shouldn't change if I'm in an inertial frame of reference. The behavior of light should be exactly the same. If I measure the speed of light, let's say right now, inside this car.
sorry, if you measure the speed of light, never been done by anybody ever. But if you do it in your car, what are you talking about? Can't be done.
Nathan.
Got a derivation of an R-based value superimposed onto Earth, superimposed onto Venus, utilizing Kepler's based orbital mechanics to derive distances to the sun to give you the AU value taken from Einsteinian mathematics. That is not measurable in any way, shape or form. Now, they give it you as a two-way speed of light based on the scale of in terms of the list I've just gave you with Kepler and Huygens. Yeah, that's what they give you. But there's no measurable speed of light. It's utterly absurd. But he's hypothetically suggesting that he could measure it in his car right now. No.
Yeah.
No.
Nathan, he said at the beginning that the initial reference frame was a constant acceleration or absolute stationary. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay, so if you lift the drone up and it hovers stationary at 30 feet above the ground and the camera shows the stars moving, what does that prove?
It proves that the stars are moving. What it doesn't prove is that Earth's turning underneath as a non-inertial turning reference frame.
Is the drone constant in one sense, that it's at the same place and it's not moving?
Hovering. If you said it already. Hovering.
Yeah. So thank you. He just proved that the Earth is not spinning.
With a torch, then I'm going to get the same value than if I were to be stationary. I shouldn't see any change whatsoever by the mere fact that I'm moving. But that raises a problem. If the speed of light doesn't change in terms of moving, then how do different observers observe the same light? That's the question we're going to have to answer in my next video. One last thing. This ball hasn't behaved like it would like it to. Ideally, I would like it to remain perfectly stationary. Now, I need more inertia for that, so a really heavy bowling ball would work, but I don't think I could suspend it up here. And of course, occasionally, because of my poor changing gears and the bumps in the road, I'm hitting the...
Do we need the rest of his apologetics?
No, but he just said something there that's interesting, because people have told us you wouldn't know you're moving when you're on a train, and he just says the bumps in the road and changing gears.
Right.
Like in an airplane. I know I'm moving in an airplane, but they tell us, oh no, you don't know you're moving in an airplane. I know I'm moving.
Exactly. They give you a hypothetical example where you notice nothing and you go, I've been on a plane, you notice. No, you don't. I'll just try that once more. I have been on a plane and knew I was in motion for various reasons, always. No. In my scenario, you can't tell. When you toss a ball up and down, it comes back into your hand. I see.
Those occasional non-inertial frames of reference, and as a result, my ball starts to move and we start to get periodic motion, or acts like a pendulum.
So when you're moving, you've got general things that will give you the intonation that you're moving.
So I'm going to have to stop it occasionally.
In other words, you'd notice. Right? Yeah. Well, if the ball Earth was turning, there'd be something measurable in that regard. Right, can you talk amongst yourselves? Someone's at my door and I know my wife is here.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
Well, Chocolate, you there?
Don't worry, my wife is actually here. I didn't have to run to the door.
No, I was going to say, in a plane, you're in a closed reference frame. So you can throw up a ball and it's going to come down your hand. But they're telling Earth is an open system.
Yes.
Well, you can't use that same example. And if you do, then these spaceships aren't going anywhere.
But this ball has one other tiny systematic error. And I want you to give...
It's not got an error. Whatever you say next is going to be wrong because it's a ball dangling on a bit of string. It's not error-inducing. Yeah? What's he talking about?
Me a message and tell me what that systematic error is. And you can leave that message either via Facebook or on Twitter. But I give you a clue. This ball has been on YouTube before. Check out Derek Muller's Veritasium and you'll find that the ball has appeared in videos before. And that'll give you the clue. My name is Paul from High School.
Oh, that was meaningless nonsense.
Yeah.
You're leaving me with a little guessing game. What? What are you talking about? Periodic errors in your ball. No, it didn't behave as you would like, letting you know that you were moving the entire time. Until you weren't moving. Then it behaved like you weren't moving. But your example is to say that when you're moving, you don't notice. Making your example, what's the word? Crap. Because at no point during your example did it actually demonstrate what you said. Ever. Not once.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, where are the control variables for this
Not an
experiment?
experiment. We're not talking about control variables because there's no cause and effect reasoning based on a supposition that he has come to after observing a natural phenomena. Now, if he was to detail that natural phenomena that we had to fill in the gaps for him, then I'd want to see him establishing the cause of that specific phenomena that he's observing. And that's it. I just want to know what caused that. Nothing else. I wouldn't want a speculation about bloody Einstein.
Yeah, I know. I'm just having fun here because he's running fast and loose with the word science. He's not doing any science. It's not an experiment. And the reason I said control variables is because he already told us, well, when I hit a bump in the road, this happens. And if I do this, this happens. So this is not an experiment. You're just hitting a bump in the road and makes the ball move. Like,
yeah, but he needs
you
to
can't
still a
figure
bit of
that
balance.
out.
But yeah, for the most part, though, his examples are correct. When he's trying to detail non-inertial and inertial reference frames, I have no issue whatsoever saying, no, you're not going to get that perfect scenario. But it doesn't. You don't need it to example how a non-inertial and inertial reference frame work. You don't need to give me a visual example of it working perfectly. And, fine. Don't worry about it. But the moment you tell me that in a world of moving constantly, you wouldn't be able to tell. All right, this is your example of how we are actually moving constantly through a space-time vacuum. Okay, well, if that is the case, you better damn well show me an example where it absolutely does not in any way show that to be the case. And when you do, I'll say, okay, that's fascinating. It still doesn't prove we're moving. Your comparison to what you claim wouldn't happen when we were moving. So all you've done is say, we're not moving, but you wouldn't be able to tell anyway. Look, here's an example where something's moving and you can't tell. Okay, so because we can't tell, we are moving. No, that's a crap standard, I'm afraid. I'll need something more than that, like a measurement. Now, I can take the mathematics of your rim velocity of a spinning ball in a vacuum and extrapolate out, because I am fantastic with maths and my name's Adam Meakin, how much we'd actually detect. And we don't. I also know that there's a claim Coriolis deflection. That would be to say that things that leave the turning Earth, like footballs, bullets, aeroplanes, drones, or anything, if you jump up and down, are supposed to be subject to a 15 degrees an hour deflection as Earth turns underneath them. Again, we do not see this effect. But the globe claims we will. So we don't see an effect, but you're going to give us apologetics for why we wouldn't notice. No, just prove we're actually moving. That's what you've got to do. Prove your positive assertion. Don't explain why we won't notice with crap examples that literally every step of the journey of you giving apologetics for why we won't notice, we noticed! Your ball moved! So you're going to have to do better than that. And even if you did, if you got your ball to be perfectly stationary because it was much more hefty, I'd still say, whoa, how is that proving we're moving? If I compare something that you can't notice that it's not going very fast, suddenly that means that the ground itself we're actually attached to is going fast. No. Fail. Total fail.
Yeah, but they have to use the word inertial, non-inertial, science, all this for something that we don't notice, which is Earth-based Coriolis.
It's the same thing all the time as the apologetics. Oh, we're supposed to see this curvature here. Here's all the reasons why we don't see it, and we just see objects that we just see. Right? It's the same nonsense. Here's all the reasons why we don't feel or measure that we're spinning. But yet, please believe us that we're spinning. Thank you.
Here's all the reasons we don't see a geometric physical horizon hill getting in the way of stuff. I mean, here it is in the maths for how much it'll get in the way of stuff, but we've got every excuse in the sun why it won't be in the way and why you wouldn't notice.
Nathan, if he was in a convertible, if he was in a convertible without a windshield, kind of like a motorcycle rider would feel, and he had an apparatus from the floorboard up, kind of like a crane, and that ball was hanging from that. What would that ball be doing as he's speeding along the road?
I'm pretty sure it's taken out the back of his car.
Well, I have a video, Master B, of a crane in high winds, just to give the audience a little fun time about this nonsense.
You know what country this is from?
I have no idea. I just seeing the crane going down.
I mean, this isn't inertial and non-inertial reference frame, so is it? This is just wind.
No, this is what I'm saying. If you're in a car, in a convertible, and you're moving, wind is going to hit your face. It's going to hit the ball because you're moving. If you're in that same car and you're not moving, the ball's going to be still. No wind's going to hit you on a still day, that is.
Come on, collapse already.
I was saying the same thing when I was watching.
Timber! Hooray! I knew someone would do it. Did you hear someone in the background going hooray?
So when you go outside and you run your hand across your body fast, you feel the wind against your hand.
I love it.
If you're
Sexual.
not-
Beautiful.
What's that?
Nothing.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, this is real simple. If you go outside, everything's fine until you move your hand real fast with your palm up to feel the wind, and then you feel it. But if you don't move, you don't feel it because you're not going against anything. In a convertible, if it's stationary and say it's a windless day, you're not going to feel any wind. But if you drive, you're going to feel it. I mean, this is so obvious, to second nature to understand what's going on here.
Indeed. Adam is here. He's obviously tied up doing something and didn't know we were talking about how wonderful he is with his mathematics, otherwise he'd have piped up. But almost 100 people watching. Wonderful. Thank you very much to all of you who've shared the show. 94 people watching. Only as a result of people sharing the show. We definitely haven't been put out with algorithmic love to get to that number. So yeah, please share the show if you've not done so already.
I think Chocolate made a point that crosses over on many aspects of how we debunk the globe. The things that are supposed to be happening aren't happening, but they make up verbiage as if they are, but we'll never notice.
It's nothing but apologetics for globe Earth. You know, why we won't see a horizon, why we won't feel us turning, why we can't get an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline. Oh no, that's one of ours.
Right, but they're always apologizing and yet saying it's happening, but it's not happening. It's like, what?
Well, it confuses them, doesn't it? And the best example is always going to be Simon Dan. Because Simon Dan sent me a clip of a man not drifting, bouncing up and down on a tractor, being a trampoline being pulled by a tractor. And he said, look, you and your reference frames are ruined. Because we comprehensively detail, as this gentleman just did, what reference frames are and how they would behave. Now, because we do not notice any drift, Simon Dunn took upon himself to tell me that my, reference frames are ruined. Now, reference frames are just ways of describing things, but the globe Earth is claimed to have two of them, exhibiting a 15 degrees an hour drift called Coriolis effect. But Simon Dan was keen to show me, hey, look, no drift. So no drift giving us the proof that we're turning with a 15 degrees an hour. Well done, Simon Dan, you complete bonehead. Obviously, it's a bit confusing to you when they tell you Earth's turning, there'll be a Coriolis effect, and simultaneously tell you there's no effect to see. Now, we understand that paradox, contradiction, nonsensical assertion with no proof to back it. Yeah, we understand that. But Dan just thought, oh no, why would we expect to see any drift? Because his claims of 15 degrees an hour of it on a globe Earth that's turning. That's why. You know, did you not forget that everyone used to claim that, probably still do even though he's dead? Thanks, Bob, for proving 15 degrees an hour drift is apparent in a fibre optic gyroscope. That would be the gyroscope spinning in fixed space and Earth turning beneath it at a claimed rate of 15 degrees an hour. So that would be your two reference frames that Dan said are ruined. Yeah, unfortunately, though, without faulty gyros, there's nothing actually exhibiting this effect. Gyros are put to practical application for remaining rigid in space as you traverse the plane on an aeroplane. They don't deviate at all. Meanwhile, faulty gyro, oh look, there we go, there's the drift we needed. That's not exhibited anywhere else except in this very complicated gyro that doesn't work properly because it does not remain fixed in space. But that's showing we've got 15 degrees an hour drift of Earth turning underneath you if you jump up and down. Yeah, that causes a lot of confusion to people like Dan, who can't really understand whether or not they should or shouldn't have drift. Go ahead.
No, chocolate, go.
So that's a great way to prove your point, isn't it? To depend on a contraption that's malfunctioning.
Well, it's worse than that because it's either the sun moving 15 degrees an hour that gives the effect, or the Earth is moving 15 degrees an hour that gives the effect. And if the sun was moving 15 degrees an hour, the flight time remains the same. If the Earth was moving 15 degrees an hour, there should be a reduced flight time east to west, and that's never happening.
Yeah.
It's over. It's over right there.
It's confusing. I had on the trek over to a class with my eldest daughter, she started explaining this concept to me, literally today, about the sun remaining stationary. Now, obviously, she's 7, so she's not going to have the best linguistic skills to convey what she was trying to explain to me, and we have just detailed on this show. However, the part that she took away from whatever YouTube video she's watched about heliocentrism was that the sun isn't moving. And when she explained it back to me, I first explained how heliocentrism explains to her that the Earth is claimed to be turning underneath the sun and the stars. And therefore, the claim is that the sun doesn't move, we move. I didn't say this terminology, but with respect to it. Okay. Then she starts bawling her eyes out. I thought the sun didn't move. No, Eleanor. Does the sun come up in the morning above the horizon? Now, you'll have to excuse my phraseology. I'm trying to dumb this down for my daughter when I say come up. That's not how I would necessarily detail it in a debate or discussion as a flat earther. I'm just talking to a 7-year-old. But when I'm trying to get her to comprehend, we observe the sun moving. It has apparent motion. Now, I don't know the cause of the apparent motion. That would be something I could put through the scientific method. It is far beyond my scope of ability, as far as I'm concerned, to vary and manipulate that which I assume will cause the sun's movement. How dare I be so bold as to assume that I can validate and vary something which will cause that effect? No, I can't. However, men have declared that they have the cause of that effect, and it's by moving the very ground that you're standing on. Yeah, it's called heliocentrism. You'll be moving around the sun, not the sun apparently moving around us, which is how we observe it. And after 5 minutes of straight explanation in terms of literally what my daughter actually observes to apparently happen with respect to the sun and her position, that is to say, it moves, it comes up over here and goes down over there. In between, it's moved. That upset her. Because as far as she was concerned from whatever SciShow Kids video that she'd watched, they're telling her it does not move. That was the main point that they had reiterated again and again and again in the kids' video. So she firmly understood it doesn't move. And she had to have that cemented in her mind at this tender age to move on with the comprehension later that we're moving with respect to it. It's too young to understand that now. Maybe she did. I did explain it to her in as dumbed down way as I could. But all I was left with at the end of this was a video has told you the sun ain't moving. And it's upset you when you realise it is. Bloody obviously moving. And that upset her. And it's like, why? Why does some nonsense doublespeak within the heliocentric rhetoric have to poison my daughter? Upsetting, to say the least. Anyway.
I think that's kind of that old school rhetoric, because I do remember at some point when I was in elementary school, that was the old way they taught us, that the sun was stationary and everything moved around it. It's not till later on I realized that the sun is supposedly moving 500,000 miles in a direction. So when you're a kid, that's what they tell you. That's what they show you. You don't ever see that GIF where the sun is moving across the galaxy or whatever, and the planets are chasing it. You don't see that. I didn't see that, so I became a flat earther.
Right. Yeah, they cement it in your mind that it's the solar system only. And the solar system has a static sun at the center. And that's where the original system is named. Heliocentric. Helios, the sun. Centric speaks for itself. Sun at center. Us moving around a stationary sun. So from a tender age, they train kids. It's not moving. That was the point that she reiterated to me over and over again. Why? Because it's obviously been cemented in her mind by the video she's watched. Sad. 104 people watching. Wow, brilliant. Finally tipped over 100 people after a 2 or 3 day stint of staying just under. Marvellous. Thank you very much, everybody who smashed the share button. Really appreciate it. It's good to see. Yeah, not my favourite video, I've got to be honest, 10th. It was alright. But not the crane one, but the do before. But as always, can't believe we got to the end of a video for a change. Please let this dude know. And he's called PhysicsHigh. That's the name of the channel. There's a link whizzing its way by in the live stream chat if you are watching this live. Just let him know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, we responded to your video. And the video is called What Are Frames of Reference in Physics? So yeah, let him know with a nice comment. Hopefully he'll respond. And put a link to our video. You never know your luck. Okay, we've got a diagram from 10th. Go ahead.
You did good. I mean, especially with all the things going on, you did pretty good on that one. He brought in gravity, he brought in science when it's not science. You know, they just keep doing that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, like I say, I've got an internet guy coming out tomorrow to fix my router. Hopefully.
I got a picture in Master B for you to show. The sun's angle.
Yeah.
So here's an angle. Guess what you need? Lamborghini, right? You're going to need a flat plane.
Yeah.
To measure that angle. As they show it. And it's the equinox. Day and night are equal. So it's referencing that time of year twice a year where there's no earth tilts. And equal day, equal night. But as you can see there, based on what you said to your daughter, it rises from the east and sets in the west. Much like if you were looking at a skyline and all of a sudden spotted a plane. Was that touching the horizon? How can a plane be touching the horizon? And the next thing you know, it's directly overhead at 90 degrees, like the sun, but maybe 30,000 feet in the sky. And then as you watch it, if you have time, hey, is that touching the horizon on the west? Is it crashing? Or is that perspective?
The air. So never thought for 1 second that I was on the ground beneath them rotating in any direction.
Yeah, and for how long would they be in your view from the first time? Would it be minutes or seconds or before they landed from the first sighting?
Yeah, it'd be minutes.
Okay.
So they'd line up for a while.
So for minutes, many minutes, the Earth is spinning underneath. So How could they be lined up with the runway when they need to be lined up where the runway's supposed to be minutes later?
Yeah, they wouldn't be. that would be it. Either that or each different plane would take a different coordinate to get to the ground. Like they would have to take a slightly different direction. You would never have that line that I've seen for miles stretching across the sky.
So you'd see a banana shape in the sky.
Maybe.
No, you saw a carrot. You saw a carrot, not a banana. So they're all lined up like a carrot with the runway versus a banana where the runway is going to be by the time they get there. That's not an appealing argument for you?
Well, let's hope the tempo picks up a little bit.
Yeah. We're waning.
I'm doing housekeeping while you're doing housekeeping. So
You're doing housekeeping while we're doing housekeeping.
Did you have something to add, Mighty Mush?
No, sorry, bro. I just joined in and I was unmuted. Good morning and hope everybody has a great day. Huh?
Oh, thank you very much.
Same to you, brother.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Seems like a not long after show, Nathan.
Yeah, it might be a short after show. I'm just making a thumbnail for the live show. And I'm not very good at multitasking, otherwise I'd be chit-chatting with you.
Yeah, no problem. There's nothing. Unless Chocolate wants to talk, I'm done.
I'm actually a little bit busy.
All right.
Oh, well, this is going to be a really short after show then, isn't it?
Yep.
Fair enough. With that disappointing event, we're going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!